Let's try another. Solve this system using Gaussian elimination. Don't forget that your goal is to have 1, 0, 0, 1 with some numbers on this side. Okay? Everything is in standard form, so we have our 2, -5, -4, 3, -1, 11. The first thing we have to do is get a 1 here. That means we need this to be a 1. To get a 1, you're only allowed to divide, or multiply of course. But row 1 divided by 2 gives us a new row 1, would make a 1 right there. That means row 2 stays the same. Divide everything in row 1 by 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1, -5 divided by 2, and then -4 divided by 2 is -2. The next thing that we need is to get this to be a 0. Actually, I should be pointing here. This needs to be a 0. What do you add to 3 to get 0? -3 times the row with the 1 in it. -3 times row 1. Add it back to that row, so row 2 will give us a new row 2. So that means row 1 stays the same. So -3 times row 1 plus row 2. -3 times 1 is -3, plus 3 is 0. -3 times -5 halves. -3 times -5 halves is a positive 15 halves minus 1. -15 halves minus 1 is -15 halves minus 2 over 2, which is -17 halves. And then -3 times -2 is 6, plus 11 is 17. Oh, that was a positive. I was thinking something was wrong. Negative times negative is a positive. So 15 minus 2 is 13. So this is a positive 13. Sorry about that, guys. You know I make mistakes though. That's nothing new, right? Alright, we need a 1 here. To get a 1, we can multiply by the reciprocal. So 2 over 13, if we multiply this by 2 over 13, we get 1, right? 2 over 13 times row 2 will give us a new row 2. That means row 1 stays the same. Multiply everything in row 2 by 2 over 13. Well, 0 times 2 over 13 is 0. If you have 13 over 2 times 2 over 13, you get 26 over 26, which is 1. That's what we wanted to happen. Then we have 2 over 13 times 17. 2 over 13 times 17. That's going to be the same thing as 34 over 13. And remember, if you don't want to do all this fraction stuff by hand, you can always use your calculator. We really just have one more step. We need this to be a 0. What do you add to -5 halves to get 0? You add a positive 5 halves. Multiply it by the row with the 1 in it, that's row 2. Add it back to row 1 to get a new row 1. That means row 2 stays the same. So 5 halves times row 2 plus row 1. 5 halves times 0 is 0, plus 1 is 1. 5 halves is 0. Then we have 5 halves times 34 thirteenths. Well, 2 will go into 34 17 times. 5 times 17 is 85. over 13. So we have 85 over 13 minus 2. Minus 2. So that's 85 over 13 minus 26 over 13. And 85 minus 26 is going to be 59/13. So we have our solution. X is 59/13, y is 34/13. And of course you can check your answer by substituting everything back into the original equations, and both of those should end up being true if you do that.